Hey guys, it's Adam here. So currently I am at E3 in Los Angeles. You can see the view out of my hotel room there. It's very, very nice. I've been doing reaction videos to some of the conferences. I just got back from the Ubisoft conference. You see my hand is like stamped there with a very blurry Ubisoft logo, as well as I got this cool hat and an Ash figure from Rainbow Six Siege. How nice. But yeah, so I just got back from their conference, and I want to do the talk about it and just kind of give you my thoughts and opinions and all that kind of stuff. But I've already done this for a couple others. I did this for the Microsoft conference, which I got to go to, as well as the Bethesda conference, which I got to go to. However, I think that's the end of the conferences that I will be at. Like, I'm not going to Sony's. I wish I was, but I'm not. And, but yeah, I've seen a couple, I've already done 2 of these videos, and people are like, oh, why don't you shoot it better? It's like, I can't. Like, I'm in a hotel room with just my phone. I don't have the capacity to edit anything here. These response videos, contrary to what some of you might think, are not the reason I am at E3. This is just kind of bonus material, just because why the hell not? So I thought it'd be fun. If you don't like the visual aspect of it's fine, just listen to it like a podcast. There's not much visual element required. It's a fat guy who's sweating. Like, what do you need that for? You need to see that in super high definition? I don't think so. But what I have here, the one thing you should look at, is my little notepad thing that basically just has a list of notes that I made during the conference. So this is the second year in a row that I got to go to the Ubisoft conference, and I have a very good relationship with Ubisoft, so my perspective on this is a little askew, not for what you would think of as like bias or fanboy reasons, because those are incredibly objective individual, but the reason I'm a little askewed is because I knew most of the games in advance, and because of that, I don't know what was considered a surprise to other people. So my excitement might be in different areas than yours, just because there were some things that legitimately shocked me, but as far as like the full game library, I'm pretty sure I knew all of them with save for one. So let's just get on with it here. The first thing that they did was they had a big musical number for Just Dance 2019. Just Dance 2019. I mean, it's never been my franchise. I don't really care much for it, but it just doesn't appeal to me. That's not my type of gaming. The cool thing about it, though, that I will acknowledge for sure, is the retro gamer in me is very happy that that game is coming out on the Xbox 360, the Wii U, and the Nintendo Wii. It's unknown at this point in time if there's going to be a PS3 version. I was looking around and I didn't see any listings for that, but they did have listings for the other 3. So cool, because full Wii U set collector here, so it's going to be cool to add another game to that. And I just think it's funny that you're getting another 360 and original Wii game at this point in time. So who knows? Maybe Just Dance 2020? I don't know. Maybe that'll be the last Wii U game. Who knows? Who knows? But I want to give them a little shout here, because before the show, in their pregame, which their pregame was pretty amusing, they actually used one of my tweets in their pregame. So shout out to Ubisoft. Thank you for that. I got a little Twitter love for them. But yeah, anyway, so that was that. The next thing that came up was Beyond Good and Evil 2. Which is obviously a highly sought-after game for many years. People have been wanting it. They announced it last year, and this year they showed us way more of it. And I'm pretty sure I'll be playing it tonight. If I hadn't mentioned, I don't think I did, I will be at the Ubisoft VIP Lounge tonight, being able to play most of the stuff they announced. I don't know yet. Some of those games I have actually already played, so I can talk about some of them more or less. But yeah, that one in particular, I'm very much looking forward to. One of the coolest things about that, though, was the random star power that this conference had. They brought Joseph Gordon-Levitt to that. He just randomly walks out. Turns out he's like the head of some company that's going to be doing some sort of social media aspect for this thing, called like Hit Record, I think is the name of his company. So it's cool. That was awesome. Just seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm sure if you don't know the name, Google it, you'll recognize him. He's in Batman, Dark Knight Rises. He's in Inception, all the way back to Angels in the Outfield. Like that dude's been on a lot of stuff. He's of course Third Rock from the Sun. A lot of stuff. Then they started talking about Rainbow Six Siege, which is of course why we have this little Rainbow Six Siege figure here. But yeah, I thought it was going to be more about like DLC or something, but it was more about like, here's how many people have been playing it, here's how successful it's been, and then they talked about how they're doing this documentary with it, and then they're going to have these like upcoming tournaments and stuff. That game blew up in a way that they probably never really expected, and so good on them. Glad they're successful with it. I have a little bit of love for that game, just because it was the first media event I was ever involved with. Was the very first Rainbow Six Siege event, so that's cool. But moving on, then they brought out Trials Rising. Now here's one of the games I did not know about. Trials Rising is from the Trials series, which is basically a motocross type of racing game, except they're more absurdist. And I gotta say, I don't usually care much for that, but this one looked particularly appealing. It looked a lot like, if you ever played Happy Wheels, it's like a flash-based, violent game. I was getting those vibes, even though it's not as overtly violent as that game. It kind of seemed like that was, in a weird way, the objective was to be violent, but playable as a racer. I don't know, it's kind of strange. I don't know how else to phrase it. It just kind of had that vibe to it, especially with this like comedic little montage they threw together of all these people like dying and stuff while playing the game. So next up they did was The Division 2. They showed us a lot more of that. It takes place in Washington, D.C. They added raid modes. They added other gameplay mechanics to it. It looked pretty cool, and I think I'm going to be playing a lot of that tonight too, so I'll have more probably to say on that later. Then they brought out Rabbids Kingdom, the Donkey Kong expansion, which was cool of them. Now, I played that original version a lot. I obviously haven't played the DLC. I think I'm playing that tonight as well. That was very cool just to see that, but what actually made it more exciting, and I'm sure this really only applied to people in the audience as opposed to online, that little musical number they did, which was pretty neat, especially when they got to the actual like Donkey Kong stuff. That was just kind of awesome to hear in person, but I realize that's a very different perspective than most people had, but still it looks cool. Then they talk about Skull and Bones. I like Skull and Bones. Sorry, I think I hit the mic there. I like Skull and Bones. I'm wearing the Skull and Bones shirt from last year that they gave as a private demo. So I've actually played Skull and Bones before. I played it last year at E3 at a very, very, very private exhibition. So, but I mean, that was a much older build of the game, of course. So I know they're going to be playing that a lot tonight. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Next up was Transference. I've also played Transference. You can hear sirens outside. That's very appropriate for Transference because that's a fucking weird game. But Transference is like a VR game. And I played the demo of it last year at E3. Obviously, I assume they're going to have more of it tonight. That one was cool because they had, in the original trailer for it, they had Elijah Wood in there, and everybody was like, oh, that's really cool. Then they fucking brought Elijah Wood out on stage. You're like, damn, they got 2 movie stars in this thing. That's so cool. So definitely looking forward to playing more Transference. That game fucks with your head. Like, fucks with your head, because it's a VR game, and it's trying to fuck with your senses, and it's very, very creepy. Next up was Starlink. Now, I gotta admit, first time I saw anything with Starlink, I was kind of just like, a game that uses toys. I don't know enough of the details about that. I'm sure I'll find out more tonight. But I wasn't too excited about it. But I gotta give them credit. The moment I cheered the loudest for it, because I was legitimately surprised, was when they revealed that there was Star Fox in it. Like, at least the Switch version. So Star Fox will be a character, that his entire squadron, if you will. And then, of course, they just brought Shigeru Miyamoto back. I mean, he was there last year. And I was like 5 feet from the man. This year I was like 10 feet from the man. So that was really cool. Yeah, so very, very awesome. So they basically had 3 like superstars there, which was really, really, really fucking awesome. The game itself, obviously, haven't played it yet, so I can't comment on it. But I'm still very hesitant to the fact that you have to have like these toys. The next up was For Honor. They talked about the Marching Fire, which is a DLC for it. I already know, I can tell you firsthand, that on my other channel on Game Society, we will probably be playing a lot of that. That's just because one of our guys like fucking loves that game, so I'm sure we'll be streaming the crap out of that. But yeah, that definitely looked cool. They're adding like the Chinese Legion and all these other things, so that looked pretty badass. Then they had basically an ad for The Crew 2. I've actually played The Crew 2 as well. I played that at a private event as well. That's a fun game if you like that genre. It's basically just racing in 3 different types of, well, multiple types of vehicles. Basically, car-based vehicles, flight vehicles, and boat vehicles, if you will, water-based vehicles. And the coolest thing about that game is really the ability to move from all around the entirety of the mainland U.S. Like, I actually flew, like in the game, in the demo, I flew, or what the early access thing that I had. I flew into Chicago, which is where I live, and I just flew around to see how accurate the landscape was, and then I actually found basically the equivalency of where I live, and I was like, that's fucked up. so that was cool. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's not like my game. That's not the kind of, if you like racing games and stuff, like, that'll be more your game. It's an interesting game in that regard, if you like racers. But as I mentioned before, things like Forza and stuff like that have never been really my thing. And then the last thing they did was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was a game that got completely wrecked by a keychain. image of a keychain, a little piece of merch that got out on the internet and leaked the fact that this game was real. They made a joke about that, to their credit, kind of like Bethesda did yesterday with the joke about Walmart Canada. They made a joke about it. Hopefully we have things more exciting for you than a keychain, which was, he didn't get the reaction because I think it was too obscure of a piece of information for people to know. Maybe, I don't know. But either way, I laughed. I thought that was funny. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it looks good. It looks like Assassin's Creed. You know, I'm sure that, I think the Assassin's Creed franchise is probably due for a break, but I guarantee that game has been in development for enough years that they're like, we got to put it out. But obviously, I have no first-hand knowledge of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do maybe take a year off after this one. I could be dead wrong, obviously. I don't know their development cycles, but yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that said, it looked pretty cool, and I'll have more insight into that because I'm sure I'll be playing a lot of that tonight as well. So, yeah. Overall, I wouldn't call it a very shocking conference because, like I said, the only thing I really didn't know was that Star Fox was going to be in Starlink. But pretty much everything else on this list, other than Trials Rising, I had already known about. I think most of us had known about, I'm guessing, or I've actually even played. So there's not much like what to look forward to next year that came out of this conference. It was more like stuff that's coming up within the next calendar year. So very possibly their next E3 show will probably be like explosive with all sorts of stuff they're doing, but this year was kind of, in a weird way, was like the filler year where they're just kind of updating you on the progress. I mean, that happens. But, yeah, so I guess that's kind of it. Overall, enjoyed it. Thank you for Ubisoft for letting me in there. I doubt they'll ever see this video, but still, thank you very much for if you ever do. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later. Oh, I will be doing one of these for the Sony conference, even though I'm not going to the Sony conference. I was invited to the PC conference, but I'm not going to that because I was like, let someone who really cares about PC gaming sit in on that one. I don't need the spot. So I think that's it. So yeah, anyway, thanks guys, and I'll see you guys later.